May 18, 2018. 7:32 a.m. First period art class at Santa Fe High School in Texas. 17-year-old Demetrius Pagurtzis walked in wearing the same long black trench coat he had worn every day for weeks despite the warm weather. He carried a shotgun and a .38 revolver taken from his father. Without a word he raised the shotgun and opened fire. 10 people died in the next 30 minutes. 8 students. 2 teachers. 13 more were wounded. Pipe bombs and pressure cooker bombs sat planted around the campus but never detonated. Pagurtzis spared some students he said he liked, then surrendered when officers arrived. The deadliest school shooting in Texas history at the time. It was not the first. It would not be the last. The same pattern repeats across decades. A student or former student enters a school. Warning signs have been visible for weeks or months. The attack is planned in silence. The violence unfolds in minutes. Response systems fail to stop it in time. 10 dead here. 17 dead there. 26 dead somewhere else. The names change. The locations change. The outcome never does. This is the story of the deadliest American school shootings told through the pattern that connects them all. Warning signs ignored. The signals were never invisible. They were simply not acted upon. At Oxford High School in Michigan on November 30, 2021, 15-year-old Ethan Crumbley had drawn a gun and a bleeding figure on his desk with the words, "The thoughts won't stop. Help me." School officials called his parents that morning. James and Jennifer Crumbley refused to take him home. Hours later, Ethan walked into the hallway with a 9mm handgun his father had bought him 4 days earlier as an early Christmas gift. They had taken him to the shooting range the day after the purchase. Ethan killed 4 students, Hannah St. Juliana, Tate Meyer, Madison Baldwin, and Justin Schilling, and wounded 7 others before surrendering. His parents were later convicted of involuntary manslaughter for failing to secure the gun and ignoring years of disturbing behavior. Texts about demons in the house, videos of animal torture, Nazi symbols, and obsession with firearms. The same failure repeated at Santa Fe. Pagurtzis wore the trench coat every day in the Texas heat. Classmates remembered it. He posted images online with guns and knives. He had journals detailing his plan. Investigators later found he had deliberately chosen victims yet spared others because he liked them. None of the adults around him connected the dots before he walked into that art room. At Red Lake Senior High School on the Red Lake Indian Reservation in Minnesota on March 21, 2005, 16-year-old Jeff Weiss had been pulled from regular classes and placed on homebound instruction after repeated disciplinary problems and depression. He wore black eyeliner and a long black trench coat year-round. Classmates described him as an outcast who talked openly about violence. That afternoon he first shot and killed his grandfather, a tribal police officer, and the grandfather's companion at home. He took the officer's guns and bulletproof vest, drove the police car to school and killed 7 more, 5 students, a teacher and an unarmed security guard, before turning the gun on himself. 9 victims in total. Warning signs had been documented for years. Virginia Tech in 2007 showed the pattern on a larger scale. Sung-Hui Cho had a documented history of mental health issues, including a court order for treatment. He had written disturbing plays and papers that alarmed professors. Yet he was still able to purchase 2 handguns legally and carry out the deadliest attack in modern U.S. school history, killing 32 people across 2 separate locations on campus before taking his own life. Sandy Hook Elementary in 2012. Adam Lanza had been withdrawn from school, showed severe emotional disturbance, and had access to his mother's arsenal of legally purchased firearms. Uvalde Salvador Ramos in 2022 had posted online threats and exhibited behavioral red flags at school. Parkland's Nicholas Cruz had been expelled after repeated disciplinary incidents and had a documented history of violence and fascination with firearms. In every case the signs existed in plain sight: social media posts, drawings, absenteeism, behavioral changes, access to guns, but the systems designed to catch them did not. Planned attacks. These were not sudden outbursts. They were calculated. Pagurtzis at Santa Fe spent weeks preparing. He stole his father's guns, assembled explosive devices, chose his targets in advance, and even planned to die afterward. The pipe bombs and pressure cookers found around campus were part of a larger design that only partially succeeded. Columbine High School in 1999 set the modern template. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold spent more than a year planning. They built dozens of bombs, scouted the school layout, timed their attack for maximum casualties, and documented every detail in journals and videos. Their original plan involved explosives that failed to detonate, forcing them to rely on firearms. 13 people died, but the planning itself became the blueprint copied by others. Weiss at Red Lake planned his sequence carefully. Kill the grandfather for the weapons and vehicle. Drive to school in uniform. Enter through familiar doors. The attack was methodical once it began. Ethan Crumbley at Oxford left a trail of digital breadcrumbs, journals filled with gun drawings and Nazi imagery, texts about violence. But the plan was simple and executed in under 6 minutes once he left the classroom. The deadliest attacks share this preparation phase. Cho at Virginia Tech chained the doors of Norris Hall to trap victims inside. Lanza at Sandy Hook first killed his mother at home before driving to the elementary school he had once attended. Ramos at Uvalde barricaded himself inside a classroom for more than an hour, continuing to fire while law enforcement waited outside. Planning gives the attacker control. The rest of the world only sees the final minutes. Speed of violence. Once the first shot is fired, everything accelerates. At Santa Fe the shooting lasted roughly 30 minutes as Pagurtzis moved room to room. 10 dead before officers could fully engage him. At Oxford the hallway attack was over in 6 minutes. For students dead. Ethan surrendered without resistance when officers arrived. Red Lake unfolded even faster inside the building. Weiss moved from the entrance to classrooms and back, killing 7 at the school in a matter of minutes before the shootout with police. Virginia Tech's second wave in Norris Hall lasted less than 15 minutes once Cho began firing. He methodically went room to room, killing 27 students and 5 faculty in that short window. Sandy Hook lasted under 5 minutes inside the school. 26 people, 20 first graders and 6 adults, shot at close range. Uvalde's classroom massacre continued for more than an hour after the shooter entered, but the initial burst of violence in the connected classrooms was over in minutes. 19 children and 2 teachers died while officers remained in the hallway. The pattern is brutal in its consistency. Modern semi-automatic weapons allow a single shooter to inflict mass casualties faster than any previous generation of firearms. Response times that once seemed reasonable now feel catastrophically slow. Response failures. The final link in the chain is the moment when the system is supposed to stop the attacker. At Uvalde, officers arrived within minutes but waited outside the classroom for over an hour while the shooter continued firing. Tactical teams eventually breached the room and killed the gunman. The delay became the subject of intense official investigations and congressional hearings. At Columbine, the 2 shooters took their own lives before SWAT teams fully entered the building. The incident exposed critical flaws in active shooter protocols that were rewritten nationwide afterward. At Parkland, the school resource officer remained outside the building during the critical 4 minutes of shooting. 17 died. Red Lake's response involved a shootout at the school entrance. Officers engaged Weiss quickly, but the damage inside had already been done. Oxford and Santa Fe both ended with the shooters surrendering or being taken into custody without further gunfire once law enforcement arrived. Yet in both cases the casualties were already final. Virginia Tech's campus lockdown came too late for the second wave of attacks. Sandy Hook's response was immediate but the shooter had already finished. Each failure taught new lessons: armed resource officers, faster entry tactics, better communication. Yet the next attack still found the gap. The pattern does not break. 32 dead at Virginia Tech in 2007. 26 dead at Sandy Hook in 2012. 21 dead at Uvalde in 2022. 17 dead at Parkland in 2018. 10 dead at Santa Fe in 2018. 9 dead at Red Lake in 2005. 4 dead at Oxford in 2021. Different states. Different ages. Different weapons. Same repeating sequence. Ignored warnings, deliberate planning, lightning violence, delayed response. The numbers are not abstract. They are children in classrooms, teachers at their desks, families shattered in a single morning. Each shooting leaves behind parents who will never see their child again, survivors who carry physical and psychological scars for life, and communities forever changed. The deadliest school shootings in American history are not isolated tragedies. They are links in a chain that stretches across more than 2 decades. The warning signs appear. The plans form in silence. The violence explodes without warning. The response arrives too late. And then the cycle waits for the next name, the next school, the next morning. Understanding the pattern does not guarantee it will end. But ignoring it ensures the next chapter will be written the same way. If you see the signs, in yourself, in a student, in someone you know, speak up. Report them. Get help. The system only changes when the people inside it refuse to look away. The pattern is clear. The question is whether we will finally break it.